All right, Nick, let's talk about the Chicago Bears. We've been pretty high on the Chicago Bears for a little while now. We've seen the turnaround ever coming for this team, made a lot of very great moves this past offseason. But there's something kind of special about, the man behind the trigger of the Chicago Bears. That's Justin Fields, something that makes him a little bit different. And we have some comments from some teammates and other people today that just show exactly how special he is, Nick.
Yeah, Miles, I think Bears fans will be really excited by this. I think there's very interesting comments that you dug up. But before we get into that, Bears fans, I want you guys to answer this question, as always, in the comment section below. Look, we all know the superstars that have been throughout Bears history. There's been a lot of them, of course, over the decades. But we want to hear from you guys about a grinder, about a sort of an average Joe player, a guy who's a really solid, day in, day out, consistent team, hardworking guy that maybe didn't get the publicity as a superstars, but was a great Chicago Bear. Give us that kind of guy, your favorite kind of guy, in the comment section below. All right, Miles, I'll throw it back over to you now. What's the latest out of Chicago?
Yeah, Nick, I think Justin Fields probably doesn't fall into that category. I think he will be a superstar for this team, but he is a grinder, and that's what we're going to get into today in today's story, Nick. I think it's very interesting. This is from Yahoo Sports, of course, and it says the Bears drafted wide receiver Tyler Scott in the 4th round of the 2023 draft, believing the Cincinnati product's 4.21 speed would mesh perfectly with quarterback Justin Fields' deep ball prowess. Sounds like it will. Scott arrived at Hallis Hall, hoping to develop a quick chemistry with Fields and become a reliable big play weapon for the Bears' evolving offense. After spending 6 weeks of the Bears' offseason program gelling with his new quarterback, something immediately struck Scott about the Bears' franchise signal caller. It was Fields' dedication to his craft that opened the rookie's eyes. Everyone inside Hallis Hall trumpets the first to arrive and the last to leave line when it comes to Fields. But that pursuit of improvement does not stop, according to Scott. Part 2 says, just kind of how dedicated he is, Scott told NBC Sports Chicago on the latest episode of Under Center podcast. He said, we were on our way to the United Center one day from a team outing, and he got on the bus, and we were sitting next to each other. And the whole bus ride, he had his iPad out. He was watching film from practice the whole time, just watching film. Everybody else on their phones, talking. He was sitting in the front of us just watching film, just seeing how dedicated he is. We were doing sprints one day at practice, and he got to the end of practice, and everybody was kind of dreading it. Then he was like, well, I'm about to win every single one of them. And he ran every one like he was going to win every single one of them. And so, just having that mentality, that kind of leadership, keyword there, even if he doesn't say a word, those are things that are noticed. And I love this, Nick. This just shows the true professionalism and leadership that Fields has adapted through his years at the Bears. He is setting a prime example for young rookies. This is going to make a lasting impact on a guy like Scott, just knowing, hey, my quarterback is doing this. I have to follow suit. I want to know what you want to say about this, Nick. I'm sure there's a lot on your mind. But before we get there, I want everyone to stay tuned in the video to hear a word from our partner of today's video, that is Neuro. They have a lot of great products to give you a quick and easy boost of energy. So stay tuned to the end of the video to hear more about Neuro and their products and to get your hands on our discount code. But Nick, go on. Let's hear what you got to say about Fields' just grinder mentality, but superstar mindset.
Yeah, so if you look at any of the all-time greats at the quarterback position in NFL history, they share two common traits, both involve being obsessive. They are obsessively competitive, and they are obsessive about football. Peyton Manning, obsessive about football, obsessively competitive. Tom Brady, exactly the same. You can go back to the Joe Montanas, the Troy Aikmans, the Steve Youngs. Every elite, all-time great quarterback, a guy who wins multiple championships, a guy who's on the Mount Rushmore quarterbacks or is fighting for that spot, has two categories, or two traits, obsessively competitive and obsessive about football. And that's exactly what we're seeing from Justin Fields, Mize. And I love that. That is something you cannot teach. That is something you are born with. That is something that comes internal. And we know Fields has all the physical tools. He has the arm talent, of course, the running and scrambling ability, of course. I think a lot of that's going to come out and shine this year. We're going to see what DJ Moore can bring to this offense. A lot of new pieces as well. Robert Tonyan, I think, are going to be better up front. I think there's a lot of things to look forward to for the Bears offense. But I love the fact of all the extra effort Fields is putting in and how visible it is. Because we're right now in the depth of the offseason, and we're hearing about guys going to parties, quarterbacks going to parties, and doing stuff on Instagram and, being the yacht boats and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. I love the fact that all we're hearing about Justin Fields is how hard he's working. I love that if I'm a Bears fan. And look, there is a historical precedent for a guy in Fields' situation with his talent to make that leap once he has an elite playmaker next to him. Let's go ahead and go to our third pick of this episode, Mize. This is highlighting three other quarterbacks in recent NFL history that have very similar physical tools, big arm guys with great legs: Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and Josh Allen. And I won't go through all the details here, but if you notice, all of these guys, Lamar Jackson added Marquise Hollywood Brown, becomes an MVP candidate, his numbers go through the roof. Jalen Hurts adds AJ Brown, becomes an MVP candidate, numbers go through the roof. And of course, Josh Allen adds Stephon Diggs, becomes an MVP candidate, numbers go through the roof. The precedent is there for a guy like Justin Fields to have a massive leap this season. Of course, adding DJ Moore into the fold. I think it's going to happen, and I feel really confident it will now because you're seeing Fields putting in the work, showing his dedication, Mize.
Yeah, Nick, I love the comparisons here because these are all guys very similar to Fields, very physical play style as far as ability to run the ball. They all have great arm talent, such as Fields does. But I like how all of this is kind of lining up for Fields to have his big breakout season. Not to say that he hasn't had very good stretches throughout the last few years, but this is his MVP season coming up. This is his season to kind of take the stink out of the Chicago Bears for the last few years. They've had a lot of great flashes, but no one thought that they were like serious contenders. Obviously, they were battling. They got the first pick in the draft last year. You know, this is a team that is much, much better than their draft spot. And I think now they have the pieces, especially with the addition of a guy like DJ Moore, to get them over the hump. This is like, and I'll be not so ambitious. I'll say like a 9-win team next year. I think they're going to be pretty solid team, probably battling for a playoff spot, but they have the ability to overperform that by a large margin just by Justin Fields' dedication alone. I think this guy is the person to really take Chicago over the top.
All right, Miles, we would like to give a special thanks to our partner today's video, Neuro.
That's right, Nick. And I want you to go with me on a journey really fast. I want you to imagine this. It's 4th and goal in the big game, Nick. Your team is relying on you to make the big time game winning play. I know you've been in this situation before, Nick. The stadium is roaring. The clock is ticking. The game is on the line. But if only in that moment you were able to have some Neuro Gum. Neuro Gum will help you stay concentrated, and it gives you a burst of energy without a nasty crash.
That's right, Mize. Neuro has thoughtfully curated ingredients and does endless lab testing, which means that you can reach the right state of mind safely and consistently. That's the most important part. It gives you a clean burst of energy and focus without the jitters of coffee or any of those other energy drinks.
That's right, Nick. And if you click our sponsor link in the description below, you can enjoy energy, calm, and focus whenever you need it.